The alarm systems on the Calraxian Imperial patrol ship screamed warnings across every console. Commander Zekthor's 4 eyes widened as he stared at the readings that made no sense whatsoever. Something had just appeared in their sector of space, and according to his instruments, it should not exist. "Report," Zekthor demanded, his translator collar humming as it converted his clicks and whistles into standard Imperial language. Science Officer Plexna's tentacles trembled as she worked her console. "Commander, there is a vessel at coordinates 472. It just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. But sir, the energy signature is completely wrong. The reactor core is reading as unstable. Actually, it is beyond unstable. By our calculations, it should have exploded approximately 17 minutes ago." Zekthor felt his scales ripple with unease. In his 40 cycles of service to the Calraxian Empire, he had never encountered a ship that defied basic physics. The Empire had ruled this section of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They knew every species, every technology, every possible ship design. This was something new. "Visual scan. Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The screen flickered to life, and every member of the bridge crew fell silent. The vessel before them was unlike anything in the Imperial database. It was crude, angular, and covered in what appeared to be mismatched hull plates. Parts of it were different colors. Burn marks scarred its surface. Most disturbing of all, sections of the outer hull seemed to be held together with some kind of welded patches. "By the eternal stars," whispered Plexna. "Commander, I am detecting adhesive compounds on critical structural points. They are using some kind of bonding polymer to hold hull sections together." "That is impossible," Zekthor said flatly. "No civilization would send a vessel into deep space in such condition. It would be suicide, yet there it is, sir. And it is broadcasting a signal. They are attempting to communicate." Zekthor straightened his uniform. First contact protocols were clear, even when dealing with what appeared to be a flying disaster. "Open communication channels. Let us see who is brave enough or foolish enough to travel in such a vessel." The screen changed to show the interior of the alien ship. Zekthor felt his breathing slits constrict. The being before him was bipedal, covered in cloth with only patches of fur on its head. It had 2 eyes, a small breathing orifice, and showed its bone structures when its mouth opened. "Hello there," the creature said, its voice translated into Imperial Standard. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Mining Consortium ship Indomitable. We come in peace and apologize for the intrusion into your space. Our navigation systems are still being calibrated. This is actually our first trip outside our home system using our new faster-than-light drive." Zekthor blinked all 4 eyes in sequence, a sign of extreme confusion. "You are saying this is your first voyage beyond your home system? Yet you have achieved faster-than-light travel?" "Well, yes," Captain Chen said, smiling. Zekthor's database indicated this facial expression meant friendliness, though showing bone structures seemed aggressive. "We tested it successfully 6 months ago. This is our first long-range expedition. We are a mining vessel, searching for resource-rich asteroids and planets." Behind the captain, Zekthor could see other humans moving about. One of them, wearing a different colored cloth covering, was hitting something with a primitive metal tool. Sparks flew from whatever the human was striking. An alarm was clearly sounding in the background. "Captain Chen," Zekthor said carefully, "is your vessel experiencing technical difficulties?" Chen glanced over her shoulder. "Oh, that? No, that is just Rodriguez fixing the plasma conduit. It overheated again during the jump. Happens every 3rd time or so. She will have it sorted in a few minutes." Plexna made a sound that the translator could not convert, something between horror and disbelief. She turned to Zekthor, speaking on their private channel. "Commander, their plasma conduit is failing regularly, and they consider this normal operation. And they are repairing critical systems by striking them with a primitive tool?" Zekthor shared his science officer's concern. "Captain Chen, perhaps we should arrange for a proper engineering team to inspect your vessel. The Calraxian Empire has advanced technological capabilities. We could ensure your ship is safe for travel." "That is very kind of you," Chen replied. "We would love to learn more about your technology. Our engineer, Maria Rodriguez, would probably have 1,000 questions. But I assure you the Indomitable is perfectly safe. Well, safe enough anyway. We have been flying her for 8 years now, and she has only had 3 major system failures." "Only 3, Zekthor repeated. Not sure if the translation was working correctly." "Right. And we made it back to Earth each time, so I would call that a success rate worth celebrating." Zekthor turned to his communications officer. Send an immediate transmission to Imperial Command. Priority level maximum. Tell them we have encountered a species calling themselves humans. They possess faster-than-light technology of unknown origin and unknown stability. They appear to operate vessels in conditions we would consider catastrophically dangerous. Request guidance. While they waited for a response from command, Zekthor continued his conversation with Captain Chen. He learned that humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel through what Chen called a happy accident during a weapons test. They had been trying to create a new type of defensive shield and instead punched a hole in space-time. We were just as surprised as anyone, Chen explained. Our lead scientist, Dr. Okonkwo, said we basically stumbled into faster-than-light travel by mistake. But once we figured out how to repeat the process, we decided to see where we could go. The more Zekthor learned, the more disturbed he became. Humanity had achieved in 300 years of space travel what took the Calraxian Empire over 2,000 years. They had done it with primitive materials, dangerous methods, and apparently no understanding of the rules that governed the galaxy. The response from Imperial Command arrived within the hour. It was brief and direct. Detain the human vessel under peaceful conditions. Do not, under any circumstances, allow them to leave until a full investigation team arrives. Treat them with respect but gather all possible intelligence. Zekthor read the orders twice. He understood the reasoning. If humanity could achieve such things with crude technology, what would they accomplish once they refined their methods? The Empire needed to know if humans were potential allies or potential threats. Captain Chen, Zekthor said, choosing his words carefully, the Calraxian Empire would be honored to offer you hospitality. We have a research station nearby with comfortable facilities. Perhaps while you are here we could arrange a cultural exchange. You could learn about our technology and we could learn about yours. Chen appeared to consider this. Behind her, Rodriguez had apparently finished her repairs with the metal tool and was giving a gesture with her thumb extended upward, which the database said meant success or approval. That sounds wonderful, Chen finally said. We have been hoping to meet other intelligent species. My crew would love the opportunity. When can we arrange this? Immediately, Zekthor said. Perhaps too quickly, judging by the slight change in Chen's expression. I mean, there is no need to delay when both our peoples could benefit from sharing knowledge. After the communication ended, Plexna approached Zekthor's command chair. Sir, what are we really doing? Zekthor's scales darkened, a sign of worry. We are making sure, Science Officer, that we understand these humans before they understand themselves. Because if they can build a faster-than-light drive by accident, and think flying in a ship held together with adhesive and improvised repairs is acceptable, then I fear what they might build on purpose. The Empire must know if we are looking at future friends or future nightmares. He looked at the image of the Indomitable on his screen, that patchwork vessel that defied everything he knew about engineering and safety. Somewhere in the back of his mind a thought formed that he did not want to acknowledge. What if humanity's apparent recklessness was not a weakness, but a completely different way of thinking? What if they did not see limitations the way every other species did? That thought worried him more than anything else. Director Vosnek of Imperial Intelligence had not slept properly in 3 days. The reports coming from Research Station Gamma 9 were beyond disturbing. They were fundamentally challenging everything the Calraxian Empire thought it knew about technological development. She stood in the observation room, watching through reinforced glass as her best scientists examined the human vessel called Indomitable. The humans had been cooperative, even enthusiastic about showing the Calraxians their technology. That enthusiasm only made things worse. Play the recording from yesterday again. Vosnek ordered her assistant. The holographic display showed Engineer Maria Rodriguez standing in front of the human ship's reactor core. 3 of the Empire's top reactor scientists stood with her, their tentacles and appendages quivering with barely controlled horror. So this is a fission reactor, Rodriguez was saying, patting the metal housing like one might pat a domesticated animal. We know it is old technology, but it works great for us. We have modified it to run at about 300% of the original design specifications. 300%? One of the Calraxian scientists had asked, his translator collar struggling with the squeaking sounds of distress he was making. The reactor should melt down at those levels. The containment field would fail. The radiation would kill everyone on board. Rodriguez had shrugged, a gesture the Calraxians had learned meant humans were unconcerned. Yeah, it did that a few times during testing. But we figured out that if we reinforce the containment field with a secondary magnetic array and cool the core with liquid nitrogen, we can push it way harder. Plus, we wrapped extra shielding around the whole thing. Sure, it is heavy, but it works. You wrapped it? With what? Lead plates. And some other stuff. Whatever we had available, really. The recording continued with Rodriguez showing the scientists how humans had jury-rigged their faster-than-light drive. According to her explanation, they had taken a failed weapons experiment, combined it with a mining laser array, and used a computer program that was designed for calculating asteroid trajectories to plot jumps through space-time. Vosnek paused the recording at the moment when one scientist actually fainted, requiring medical attention. "Show me the report on their artificial intelligence system," she said. Her assistant pulled up another file. This one was even worse. The human ship's AI was operating on what the Empire calculated was 1,000th of 1% of the processing power it should require. When asked about this, the human computer technician, a young male named David Park, had explained it simply. "We taught it to prioritize better, deleted all the unnecessary processes, got rid of the bloatware." The Calraxian computer scientists had spent 6 hours trying to understand what bloatware meant and why the humans thought it was acceptable to delete what they considered critical system processes. The human AI should have been unable to function. Instead, it was running the entire ship with processing power that the Empire would use for a personal data tablet. "They do not understand what they have done," Vosnek muttered to herself. "They think they are solving problems. They do not realize they are breaking every rule of technological development." A communication came through on her private channel. It was the lead xenotechnology expert, senior researcher Tixall. "Director, you need to come to Lab 7 immediately. We have discovered something about human development that you must see." Vosnek arrived at the lab to find Tixall, surrounded by holographic displays showing human history. The researcher's carapace was flickering colors that indicated extreme agitation. "Director, I have been studying the humans' technological timeline," Tixall explained. "Do you know how long it took them to achieve faster-than-light travel?" They said approximately 300 years of spaceflight. Yes, 300 years from their first primitive rockets to punching holes in space-time. Director, it took the Calraxian Empire 2,000 years. It took the Vex Collective 1,500 years. Every known civilization in the galaxy took at least 1,000 years. The humans did it in less than a third of that time. How is that possible? Tixall brought up more displays. Because they do not follow the normal development path. Look at this. Most species develop their technology in a logical progression. Safe, tested, proven steps from one level to the next. Humans skip steps. They try things that should not work. When those things fail, they study the failure and try something else. They call it trial and error. That sounds incredibly wasteful and dangerous. It is both. But it is also incredibly fast. Director, look at this example. They tried to create a fusion reactor for 70 years before they succeeded. 70 years of failures. Any other species would have given up and tried a different approach. Humans just kept trying variations until something worked. Vosnek studied the data. "What are you saying, researcher?" "I am saying that humans do not know what is impossible. Or rather, they know, but they do not care. They try impossible things anyway. Sometimes they fail. But sometimes they succeed in doing something that should not be possible. And that is how they leapfrog ahead of civilizations that have been in space for thousands of years longer than they have." A cold feeling spread through Vosnek's core. Project forward. If they continue at this rate, what happens? Tixall's colors shifted to a deep, worried purple. In 50 years, they will match our technology. In 100 years, they will exceed it. In 200 years, I cannot even predict what they will be capable of. Especially if we share our technology with them. Why especially then? Because they do not use technology the way we do, Director. We perfect our technology before implementing it. Humans implement it, break it, fix it, and improve it through constant modification. If we give them our technology, they will not just copy it. They will change it in ways we cannot anticipate. Vosnek needed to sit down. She activated a rest platform and sank onto it. The High Council needs to know about this. They need to understand what we are dealing with. She returned to her office and began compiling her report, but she was interrupted by another urgent message. This one was from the station commander. "Director, we have a situation. Captain Chen has requested to see our military shipyards. She wants to see how we build our warships. Absolutely not, Vosnek said immediately. We cannot show them our military capabilities. Director, she says her government will be offended if we do not reciprocate the openness they have shown us. She pointed out that they have let us examine their only faster-than-light vessel. She is asking why we will not show them ours. Vosnek cursed in 3 different languages. The human had a point. The Empire had asked to see everything about human technology. Refusing to show their own would be seen as hostile. Very well, but limit the tour to civilian shipyards only. No military facilities. The tour happened 2 days later. Vosnek watched through security feeds as Captain Chen and Engineer Rodriguez walked through one of the Empire's civilian construction facilities. The humans were impressed by the clean, automated processes, the precision manufacturing, the quality control systems. But then Rodriguez asked a question that made Vosnek's scales stand on end. This is amazing technology, but why does it take 3 years to build a ship this size? We could build this in about 8 months. The Calraxian engineer giving the tour had looked confused. Quality control requires extensive testing at each phase. We must ensure every component meets exact specifications before proceeding to the next step. Safety protocols demand no less. But what if you tested as you went? Built and fixed problems as they came up? Rodriguez asked. That would be extremely dangerous and inefficient. Would it, though? I mean, you would finish faster, and you could improve the design during construction based on what you learned. The Calraxian engineer had no response to that. It went against everything the Empire believed about construction and safety. That evening, Vosnek sent her report to the High Council. She marked it with the highest priority classification. Her conclusion was simple but terrifying. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel with primitive technology, dangerous methods, and no respect for established limitations. They improved through failure rather than through careful planning. They took risks that would horrify any other species. And they had done all of this completely isolated, with no guidance from advanced civilizations. The question was not whether humanity would become a major power in the galaxy. The question was whether the galaxy was ready for what would happen when humans started learning from other species and applying their unique approach to alien technology. Vosnek ended her report with a recommendation. The Calraxian Empire should establish a defensive pact with humanity immediately, not because humans were a threat right now, but because they would become one eventually. Better to have them as friends than as enemies. She sent the report and hoped the council would listen. Because if they did not, Vosnek suspected the Empire might learn a very hard lesson about underestimating species that did not follow the rules. The border region between the Calraxian Empire and the Thex conglomerate had been tense for months. Both sides had assembled fleets, each watching the other across the invisible line that separated their territories. Commander Zekthor, now assigned as the official Calraxian liaison to humanity, found himself at Proxima Station with a very uncomfortable feeling. Captain Chen had offered to position the Indomitable as neutral ground for peace negotiations. The humans, being new to galactic politics, thought they could help. Zekthor had tried to explain that these tensions had existed for centuries, but Chen had simply smiled that bone-showing smile and said that sometimes a fresh perspective helped. Now Zekthor stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching as representatives from both sides met aboard the human vessel. The Indomitable sat directly on the border, equidistant from both fleets. It was either very brave or very foolish. With humans, Zekthor had learned these were often the same thing. "Sir, we are detecting unusual activity in the Thex fleet," his sensor officer reported. 3 ships are breaking formation. Zekthor felt his scales prickle with alarm. "Identify those ships. They are Thex assault carriers, sir. They are moving toward the border at high speed. This was bad, very bad." Zekthor opened a channel to Captain Chen. "Captain, you need to move your ship immediately. There are hostile vessels approaching." Chen appeared on his screen, looking concerned but not panicked. Behind her, Zekthor could see the Thex and Calraxian negotiators looking at each other with suspicion. "Commander, if we move now, both sides will think we are taking sides. We need to stay neutral. Captain, you do not understand. Those are extremist vessels. They do not want peace. They want war." Before Chen could respond, every alarm on Zekthor's bridge activated at once. His weapons officer shouted across the bridge, "Sir, the Thex vessels have launched a planet-killer weapon. It is targeting Proxima Station." Zekthor's world seemed to slow down. A planet-killer weapon. The most powerful weapon in the known galaxy. It could destroy entire worlds. Against a space station, it was massive overkill. But it would also destroy the Indomitable and everyone aboard it, including the negotiators from both sides. Raise shields. Maximum power. Try to intercept the weapon. Sir, our shields cannot stop a planet killer. No shields can. Impact in 90 seconds. Zekthor was preparing to order a full evacuation when something unexpected happened. The Indomitable suddenly lit up with power readings that made his sensors scream in protest. What are they doing? His science officer asked. On the screen, Captain Chen had turned to someone off camera. Rodriguez, can we stop that thing? Engineer Maria Rodriguez stepped into view, holding what appeared to be a hot beverage. Maybe. It will blow out every system on the ship, but maybe. Do it. Rodriguez took a long drink of her beverage and handed it to someone else. All right, everyone, we are about to do something really stupid. Divert all power to the forward mining laser array, and I mean all power. Life support, engines, gravity, everything. Zekthor watched in horror and fascination as the human ship began shutting down every system. The lights visible through the portholes went dark. The engines powered down, but the forward section of the ship began to glow with accumulated energy. 70 seconds to impact, his weapons officer counted down. On the Indomitable, Rodriguez was working her controls frantically. Okay, we have got about 300% more power than this array was designed to handle. If I am right about the math, we can create a focused graviton beam. If you are right, Chen asked. No time for testing, Captain. 40 seconds. Zekthor could only watch as the human ship charged a weapon that should not exist. A mining laser array could not create a graviton beam. It was impossible. The power requirements alone were beyond what the Indomitable could generate. But Rodriguez was routing power from every system, including the reactor's safety mechanisms. She was overloading the reactor to dangerous levels again, but this time on purpose. 20 seconds. Rodriguez counted down. 15, 10, firing. The Indomitable unleashed a beam of energy that lit up every sensor for light years. Zekthor's eyes hurt from looking at the screen. The beam struck the planet-killer weapon and wrapped around it like a physical hand. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the weapon's trajectory began to change. Slowly at first, then faster. Rodriguez was using the graviton beam to push the weapon away from the station, away from the fleets, out into empty space. Hull temperature critical, Rodriguez reported calmly. Reactor at 400% capacity. We are going to lose main power in 5, 4, 3, 2. The beam cut off. The Indomitable went completely dark. But the planet-killer weapon continued on its new course, sailing harmlessly into empty space where it detonated far from anything important. Zekthor realized he had been holding his breath. Around his bridge, his crew was staring at the screens in shocked silence. The Thex fleet was in chaos, the extremist ships fleeing before they could be held accountable. Get medical teams to the Indomitable immediately, Zekthor ordered. They will have casualties from life support failure. But when his rescue teams arrived at the human ship, they found something that made no sense. The humans were fine. Uncomfortable, certainly. They were floating in zero gravity, breathing from emergency oxygen tanks, and several small fires were burning in unattended sections. But they were alive and already beginning repairs. Rodriguez, what happened? Chen was asking as she used a fire extinguisher on a control panel. What happened? We just pumped the equivalent of a battle station's power output through a mining laser. Every system is fried. Life support is gone. Artificial gravity is offline. The reactor is in emergency shutdown. Hull integrity is at 60%, and I am pretty sure the coffee maker exploded. But we are alive. Yeah, Captain. We are alive. And so is everyone at that station. Rodriguez pushed herself through zero gravity to another console and began pulling panels off to access the wiring underneath. Give me about 6 hours and I can get life support back online. Maybe 12 for engines. The Calraxian rescue team leader approached Chen in the darkness. Captain, we need to evacuate your crew. Your ship is not safe. Chen looked around at her crew, who were already pulling out tools and beginning repair work by flashlight. Thanks for the offer, but we have been in worse situations. We will stay with our ship. Worse than this? Sure. There was that time near Jupiter when we lost engines and life support for 3 days. Or the incident at the Mars colony when the reactor actually did shut down. We are used to making repairs under difficult conditions. The rescue team leader had no response to that. He returned to his shuttle and reported to Zekthor that the humans had declined evacuation and were repairing their ship in the dark, in zero gravity with fires still burning in some sections. Zekthor immediately called an emergency meeting of both fleet commanders. The Thek's commander was already offering apologies and promising to deal with the extremist faction. But Zekthor barely heard the diplomatic discussions. His mind was elsewhere. He kept thinking about what the Indomitable had done. That ship, that improvised mining vessel held together with determination and improvised repairs, had just accomplished something that would require a battle station's power output. A ship with a crew of 30 had stopped a weapon that should have destroyed thousands, and they had done it by overloading every system, ignoring every safety protocol, and just trying something that should have been impossible. Later, when his shift ended, Zekthor sent a private message to Director Vosenek at Imperial Intelligence. The message was brief but urgent. "Director, we need to revise our threat assessment of humanity. Today I watched them stop a planet-killer weapon with a mining ship. They achieved this by deliberately breaking their own vessel and accepting catastrophic damage as an acceptable trade-off. The ship is heavily damaged. There are fires throughout multiple decks. Every system is offline, and the humans are already repairing it, expecting to have it operational within hours. They treated this emergency as what they called a bad Tuesday. If this is what they consider a minor inconvenience, what would they do if they were actually trying to show their capabilities? More importantly, what would an actual human warship be capable of?" He sent the message and turned back to watch the Indomitable. In the darkness, he could see flashlights moving inside the hull as humans crawled through damaged sections, repairing their ship through sheer stubbornness. Already some sections were starting to show lights again as power was restored. The galaxy was not ready for humanity. Zekthor was certain of that now. The only question was whether anyone would listen to his warnings before it was too late. High Counselor Vrex had ruled the Calraxian Empire for 23 cycles. He had seen wars, plagues, economic collapses, and the rise and fall of civilizations. He considered himself unshakable, but the human delegation was testing that confidence. The High Council chamber was the most impressive room in the capital. Carved from a single piece of crystal stone, it had witnessed 10,000 years of imperial history. Today, it was full of the Empire's most important leaders, all gathered to inspect what they believed was humanity's secret military power. They had been convinced that Earth was hiding massive war fleets, that the Indomitable was merely a scout ship, testing the galaxy before humanity revealed its true strength. Director Vosenek's reports had only reinforced this belief. If humans could do such things with a mining ship, their actual military must be incredible. Captain Chen stood before the council with Engineer Rodriguez and 3 other human representatives. They looked small in the enormous chamber, but they showed no signs of fear or nervousness. "Captain Chen," Vrex began, his voice echoing through the crystal walls, "the Calraxian Empire wishes to see Earth's orbital defense systems and your military fleet. We believe it is time for complete transparency between our peoples." Chen nodded. "Of course, High Counselor. We have nothing to hide. We would be happy to show you everything." That seemed too easy. Vrex exchanged glances with the other council members. "Everything? Your military shipyards, your defense stations, your weapons development facilities?" "Sure, though I should mention we do not have much to show. We are pretty new to all of this." 2 weeks later, Vrex found himself aboard an Imperial diplomatic vessel approaching Earth's solar system. He had brought his top military advisors and intelligence officers. They were all expecting to see something that would explain humanity's apparent technological prowess. What they found instead shook them to their core. Earth's orbital space was busy with activity, but it was not the activity of a military power. The humans had constructed various stations and satellites, but they were clearly civilian in nature. Communication arrays, scientific research platforms, manufacturing facilities. There was a defense grid of satellites, but Vrex's military advisor took one look at them and made a sound of disbelief. "High Counselor, those defense satellites are held together with the same improvised construction methods as the Indomitable. Some of them appear to be using what I can only describe as optimistic engineering. That one over there has solar panels attached with mechanical bolts that are clearly not original to the design." "What are you saying?" "I am saying their orbital defense grid would not stop a serious military assault. It is adequate for protecting against small threats like asteroids or pirates, but against a real fleet, It would last minutes at best. Rex felt a strange sensation. It took him a moment to identify it as confusion. But they stopped a planet-killer weapon. We saw it. Yes, sir, they did. I have no explanation for how that is possible. Captain Chen met them at Earth's primary space station, a rotating ring structure that looked reasonably well built, but was clearly designed for civilian use. She seemed genuinely happy to show them around. This is our main hub for space operations, she explained, as they walked through corridors filled with humans going about their daily business. We built it about 15 years ago. It houses about 5,000 people and serves as a construction platform for our other space projects. Where are your military vessels? Frex asked directly. We only have 7 faster-than-light capable ships, Chen said. The Indomitable is one of them. The others are similar designs, all converted from civilian vessels. Mining ships, mostly. We have some plans to build dedicated exploration ships, but the faster-than-light drive is still so new that we are being careful about expanding too quickly. Frex's intelligence officer leaned close to whisper in his ear. Hi, Counselor. I have been scanning the system. She is telling the truth. There are only 7 ships capable of faster-than-light travel, and all of them match the Indomitable's design philosophy. That is impossible. They must be hiding their real fleet somewhere. Sir, I have scanned every planet, every moon, every asteroid field. This is everything they have. Frex felt something he had not experienced in many years. He felt lost. Nothing made sense anymore. Chen continued the tour, showing them Earth's various space facilities. The largest construction project was a massive vessel being built from a hollowed asteroid. It was enormous, easily 5 times the size of an Imperial dreadnought. That is our generation ship project, Chen explained proudly. We are planning to send colonists to a nearby star system. It will take about 80 years to get there without faster-than-light travel, so we are building a ship that can support multiple generations. Though now that we have faster-than-light technology, we are debating whether to still send it or redesign it as a mobile station. Frex stared at the massive construction. This is not a warship? A warship? No, High Counselor. This is a colony ship. It will carry about 10,000 people along with supplies, equipment, and everything needed to establish a new settlement. But it is enormous. You could mount weapons on this that would rival anything in the galaxy. Chen looked at the ship with a puzzled expression. I suppose you could, but that is not what it is for. We built it to carry people, not to fight. Rex's military advisor was making calculations on his datapad. High Counselor, if they mounted weapons on that vessel, it would be the largest warship ever created. The armor plating alone would make it nearly indestructible, and they are building it from an asteroid, which means the raw materials cost them almost nothing. But Chen was already moving on, showing them the various satellites and smaller stations. She pointed out a research facility studying solar radiation, a manufacturing plant that produced new hull materials, a farm station that grew food in zero gravity. It was all civilian, all peaceful, all focused on expansion and exploration, not conquest or war. That evening, the Imperial delegation gathered in their ship to discuss what they had seen. Frex looked around at his advisors, all of whom seemed as confused as he felt. This makes no sense, Frex said. We have seen what the Indomitable can do. We have seen humans achieve things that should be impossible, yet their military is virtually non-existent. Director Vosnek, who had joined them for this visit, spoke quietly. High Counselor, I think we have been asking the wrong question. Explain. We have been asking where their military fleet is, what weapons they are hiding. But what if they are not hiding anything? What if this really is everything they have? Then how did they stop a planet-killer weapon? Because they were not trying to demonstrate military power. They were trying to save lives. They did not use a warship. They used what they had available, a mining ship, and they pushed it beyond all reasonable limits to accomplish their goal. Vrex began to understand. You are saying the Indomitable is not a weak example of human capability. It is a perfect example. Exactly. Humans do not build specialized tools for every situation. They take whatever they have and make it work for whatever they need. The Indomitable stopped a planet killer because the humans aboard her decided that was what needed to happen, and they found a way to make it happen. Vrex's military advisor added his thoughts. High Counselor, we have been thinking about this wrong. We assumed humans were hiding a powerful military. But what if their strength is not in their military at all? What if their strength is in their ability to turn anything into a weapon when necessary? That colony ship, another advisor said, They could turn that into the most powerful warship in the galaxy. But they will not unless they have to. Vrex felt a chill run through his body. Because if they needed to, they would simply convert it. The same way they converted mining ships for exploration. Vosnik nodded. And they would do it quickly without the years of planning and testing that we would require. They would just start building and fix problems as they appeared. Silence filled the room as everyone absorbed this realization. Finally, Vrex spoke. We came here expecting to find a hidden threat. Instead, we found something more terrifying. We found a species that does not build for war, but could become a military power faster than we can respond if they ever needed to. What do we do, High Counselor? Vrex thought about his options. The Empire could try to limit human expansion. They could refuse to share technology. They could treat humanity as a potential threat, or they could do something smarter. We make them our allies, Vrex said firmly. We offer them a full technology exchange and a defensive pact. We share our knowledge with them, and they share theirs with us. But sir, if we give them our technology, they will advance even faster. Yes, which is why we must ensure they have no reason to ever become our enemies. Because right now, humanity is focused on exploration and expansion. They are thinking about colony ships and scientific research. But if we make them feel threatened, if we try to contain them, they will start thinking about defense. And once they start thinking about defense, they will build weapons. And based on what we have seen, their weapons will be unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. Vrex stood up, his decision made. I will propose the alliance to the High Council when we return. Captain Chen and her people will be our friends, not because we fear them now, but 1 year had passed since the Calraxian Empire and humanity signed their defensive pact and technology exchange agreement. Commander Zekthor, now permanently assigned as the Imperial liaison to Earth, stood in the observation deck of a joint Empire-human shipyard in orbit around Mars. He was watching something that filled him with equal parts fascination and dread. Humanity was building its first purpose-built warship. The vessel was enormous, larger than anything in humanity's current fleet, but smaller than an Imperial dreadnought. It hung in the construction frame like a predator waiting to be born. Engineers from both species swarmed over its hull, but Zekthor had learned to spot the difference. The Calraxian engineers worked methodically, following plans exactly. The human engineers worked in organized chaos, constantly modifying designs as they built. Engineer Maria Rodriguez floated up beside him in zero gravity, a tablet computer in her hands and a smile on her face. Over the past year, she had become the chief designer for humanity's military vessel program. The Calraxian engineers were both impressed and terrified by her. What do you think, Commander? She asked, gesturing at the ship. Pretty impressive, right? I think I am afraid to see it completed, Zekthor said honestly. Rodriguez laughed. You and half my team. Even some of the human engineers think we have gone too far. But Captain Chen wanted a ship that could protect Earth and our colonies, so that is what we built. Tell me about it. Prepare me for what? The High Council will see when they come for the christening ceremony tomorrow. Rodriguez pulled up schematics on her tablet. Okay, so we started with the basic Calraxian heavy cruiser design that you shared with us. Great ship, very solid, very safe. Then we made some modifications. What kind of modifications? Well, first we took your shield technology and combined it with our overclocked reactor design. Your shields are powered at conservative levels for safety. We figured out that if we pump more power into them, they get stronger. A lot stronger. Zekthor felt his scales tingle with concern. How much stronger? About 5 times standard strength. Maybe 6 times if we really push it. Rodriguez, those shields will burn out in minutes at those power levels. Yeah, probably. But for those few minutes, this ship will be able to take hits that would destroy anything else in its class. And we can replace shield generators quickly. We designed them to be modular. What else did you modify? Rodriguez scrolled through her notes. The weapon systems, we simplified them. Zekthor knew he was going to regret asking, but he had to know. How do you simplify weapons systems? We removed most of the safety protocols and limiters. Your weapons are designed to fire at a steady, sustainable rate. Ours fire as fast as the mechanisms can cycle. We tripled the fire rate. The weapons will overheat and fail. Yep. So we designed them to be easily replaceable too. Pop out the burned one, Slot in a fresh one, keep firing. We have enough spare weapons in the armory to replace every gun on the ship 3 times. Zekthor was beginning to understand a pattern. You built this ship expecting it to break. We built this ship expecting it to take damage and keep fighting. There is a difference. In our old naval history on Earth, there were ships that were marvels of engineering but sank from a single torpedo, and there were ships that were held together with rust and determination but survived dozens of battles. We decided to build the second type. She swiped to another schematic. No redundant systems. Everything is cross-connected. The reactor can power weapons, shields, engines, life support, whatever we need in the moment. Any computer can run any program. Any power conduit can feed any system. If something breaks, we can reroute around it. That sounds incredibly dangerous. It is. But it also means we can keep fighting even with 60% of the ship damaged. Traditional ships lose capability as they take damage. This one just gets more creative. Zekthor thought about the implications. What you are describing is not a warship. It is a ship that refuses to die. Rodriguez's smile grew wider. Now you are getting it. We call her the Unconquerable. Next day, the christening ceremony was attended by representatives from multiple galactic civilizations. The Calraxian High Council was there in force. Captain Sarah Chen, promoted to admiral, was given the honor of officially naming the vessel and taking command of its maiden voyage. After the ceremony, Admiral Chen offered to give High Counselor Vrex a personal tour. Zekthor joined them, curious to see the counselor's reaction. The tour started normally enough. The Unconquerable's bridge was clean and modern, combining Calraxian design aesthetics with human practicality. But as they went deeper into the ship, Vrex's expression began to change. "Why are there access panels everywhere?" he asked. "Easy access to all critical systems," Chen explained. "Any crew member can reach any major component within minutes. If something breaks during a battle, we do not have time to cut through walls to fix it." They passed through the engineering section, where human crew members were practicing damage control drills. What made Zekthor's scales stand on end was that the drills involved actually damaging systems and then racing to repair them. "They are setting fires on purpose," Vrex observed. "Training has to be realistic," Chen said. "If the crew is going to fix damage during a real battle, they need to practice doing it under pressure. We actually damage the ship during drills so they know what to expect." "That is insane. That is necessary. Our people need to know that equipment will fail, things will break, and fires will happen. The ship is designed to keep fighting through all of that, but only if the crew knows how to make it happen." They moved to the weapons deck. Vrex stopped, in front of a plasma cannon that was clearly more powerful than anything in the Calraxian fleet. "This weapon should not be able to fire from a ship this size," Vrex said. "The power requirements are too high." Rodriguez, who had joined the tour, patted the weapon housing. "It can fire exactly 4 times before it burns out. Then we swap it for a fresh one. See those racks over there? Spare weapons? We can replace any gun on the ship in under 3 minutes. You built disposable weapons. We built weapons that maximize offensive capability at the cost of longevity. Different philosophy than yours. But it works for us." The tour continued, and with each section, Vrex became more quiet and thoughtful. Finally, they reached the reactor room. Zekthor had already seen it, but watching Vrex's reaction was educational. The reactor was a hybrid of Calraxian fusion technology and human engineering philosophy. It could be operated at standard safe levels, or it could be pushed to extreme outputs that would make any Calraxian engineer faint. "There is a manual override for everything," Vrex noticed, pointing at the control panels. "Of course," Chen said. "If the computer systems fail, or if we need to do something the computer thinks is too dangerous, we can control everything manually." "Even the reactor core?" "Especially the reactor core. If we need emergency power, someone can physically override the safeties and push it as hard as necessary." Vrex turned to face Chen directly. "Admiral, I need you to understand something. This ship terrifies me." "That is a strong reaction, High Counselor." "It should be. I have been in the military for 40 cycles. I have seen countless ship designs from dozens of species. This is the first ship I have ever seen that feels alive, like it has a will to survive. That is the idea, Chen said simply. This ship is not just machinery. It is a tool that our crew can use creatively. It adapts to situations. It can be operated in ways we have not planned for yet because we gave it the flexibility to do anything necessary. Before Vrex could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Chen immediately activated her communication device. "Admiral, we have a situation," came a voice from the bridge. "Pirate fleet just appeared in system. 20 ships. They are demanding our surrender." Chen looked at Vrex. "I apologize, High Counselor, but I need to deal with this. Commander Zekthor will escort you to a safe location." "Wait," Vrex said. "I want to see this ship in action." Chen hesitated, then nodded. "Very well, but stay on the bridge and keep out of the way." The bridge was controlled chaos as the crew prepared for battle. The pirate fleet was larger than expected, and their ships were well armed. They had probably thought they were attacking a single new vessel on its maiden voyage, an easy target. They were very wrong. The battle was unlike anything Zekthor had seen. The Unconquerable took hits that should have disabled it, but the crew just rerouted power around damaged sections and kept fighting. When the shields finally failed after absorbing impossible amounts of damage, the crew simply transferred all that power to weapons and increased their fire rate. A plasma cannon burned out from overuse. The crew had it replaced in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. An engine took a direct hit and exploded. The crew sealed that section, rerouted engine control to the remaining engines, and maintained combat speed. The pirates were trying to disable a ship that refused to be disabled. They were fighting an enemy that treated catastrophic damage as a minor inconvenience. After 20 minutes of combat, 15 pirate ships were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 5 surrendered. The Unconqueror,